everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. One of my new favorite shows, Succession. Jay Smith Cameron's here with us. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, this is a pretty interesting show. There's a lot going on here, to put it mildly. So, what has this experience been like for you so far?
Oh, it's been fantastic. From the time I first read the audition slides, where I didn't even have the full script and didn't really know what it was about, I was chuckling over it, and I didn't even know what it was. I was, I could tell right away that was really, really specific characters and really specific language, the way they talk, and really distinct, not like any TV I'd ever read. Even
like the first few episodes in season 1, like the way that the camera moves too, it's unlike that type of show that you'd see in the past. So what was it like for you as somebody that's done a bunch of different things to kind of play in a whole new world?
Well, it's challenging, but I mean exciting. It was fun, but it's a little weird because you don't really know where the camera's going to be, and it does that. It has like a little signature jump cut sometimes, like it's got this little thing. So you can't really tell until you. It's exciting for us as well to watch on Sunday nights because we really don't know how it's going to come together, like how it's going to be cut together or how they. I'm not always savvy to how they've shot it exactly, so it's really fun. The storytelling involved with the editing and camera work is part of the
whole appeal
originality of it.
Totally. So when you think about Gerri and you're looking at this person here, what first comes to mind for you?
Hard. She's very hard, but she has a sort of, I think, vulnerable jitteriness, febrile kind of energy about her that I think has proven to be something the audience can connect with, because she's in a very high stakes game, working for this company and working for Logan Roy. But she's constantly like trying to keep her balance, and that's, I think, she's not a member of the Roy family, but she's trying to keep up and trying to stay upright, and that's challenging. And I imagine that audiences can relate to her because that's so singular. Being a Roy is so special and other,
Yeah, and I think the people who aren't the Roys are really interesting to look at, because obviously so much of the focus is on the family, but all those people who are in and around the family, like, they have a lot of responsibility, but they're not in the family.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's it like unpacking that for you on a weekly basis?
It's really challenging, but that's what, as you say, that's what's interesting about it. And I think they have this really fantastic cast of people playing different executives at Waystar, and different people involved with the lead central characters. And it's true, there's a lot of trying to step very carefully. Our characters are stepping very carefully and trying to keep their equilibrium and just keeping Logan Roy from firing you, and it's just, so that's kind of exciting, because it's everyone's off kilter. And to try to be someone who is unflappable and is counted on to be unflappable under pressure, that is a fun, paradox.
Totally. And I feel like with the Roy family, it can be very easy for some people to put them in a box and just say, hey, they're money hungry, they're power hungry, but there's like a lot of emotional depth going on here. A lot of family issues going on here, to put it mildly.
It's like a Greek myth or a Shakespeare play or something.
So what should we make of the Roy family? What are the big things to think about with them?
Well, it's a very dysfunctional family, because I think in all families, when you're growing up, your parents are like Zeus and Hera.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's almost literally true. Like, they have so much power that it's very larger than life, and just the way they live is so elevated and larger than life and deluxe and insulated. They can't really interact with the world the same way.
They're in their bubble.
Right. And whenever we see them try to interact with mere, people who work for a living, and they're always like, trying to make sense of it, and then they can never really win a secure. They're also insecure in terms of their standing with their dad. He kind of waves that over their head all the time.
Even as adults, to have that same insecurity that you'd have as a child, you could be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, it doesn't matter, it's still there.
And because he has so much power, not just wealth, but power in the world, they can't just kind of become estranged. I mean, I guess you could, the way the brother, Logan's brother, is kind of stomped off to Canada.
But you can potentially lose a lot there.
And just, exactly.
And for you, you mentioned that Gerri's pretty unflappable, and then you go season 2, and we won't give it all away, but a certain collaboration, as you put it, which I know you were pretty surprised about. But for Gerri's character, that must be an interesting thing, because it's like, this is my business, but now my life is kind of intertwined with the family in a sense.
Yeah, I don't quite know what to make of that whole subplot, but I also think Gerri doesn't know what to make of the subplot, and that's inherently interesting, because you have this woman who's used to quickly evaluating and adjusting and jumping sides if she has to, or like, you know, she always lands on her feet like a cat. And so, but this is unique. And I think above and beyond that, the person that I'm interacting with, Kieran Culkin's character, Roman, Kieran and I think, have a rapport in real life. We've known each other from pre-Succession days, right? But also, the characters have always had, from the first scene I ever shot for the series, they have this sort of rapport. And so there is a kind of, there's some kind of authentic relationship. If you can have an authentic relationship with, you know, with Roman. Roman is so flippant and so, you know.
So sarcastic.
So, yes. So it's hard to imagine anyone really having a completely, you know, thorough relationship with them of any kind.
Absolutely.
But I feel like that's it sort of makes sense on some bizarre level that they would connect.
Why do you think people are so fascinated with the life and style of the rich and the extremely powerful? What do you think it does for people when they watch it?
Well, I mean, I think that most of us are used to imagining what it's like to never struggle, to have anything your heart's desire, to get into any restaurant, to look at a magazine, I want that dress and that dress and that, you know, that is a fantasy. And then to see that how they pay for that, what the dark side of being in that, like in the Roy family is, and how twisted and how isolated they are, and how much jockeying goes on to stay in their dad's favor, and how they interact, and
how tiring that is.
How much energy it takes, how much oxygen it takes.
I couldn't imagine doing that on a day-to-day basis.
Right, and I think in this case, it's not just wealth or power, it's also just the force of personality of Logan Roy is singular. Like, and Brian plays that, in my opinion, just completely, he's like the one actor I can think of who could kind of make sense of that. That you want to please him, but it's impossible, and you know it, but it doesn't stop you from trying.
Absolutely. So you've done a lot of different things in your career. Who are some people that have checked out this show that has surprised you? Like people that you've interacted with, or even just one particular person that's reached out to you?
I don't even know at the moment, but I feel like on Twitter I've noticed that a lot of interesting literary people, like writers or television writers, but also novelists and short story writers, like really appreciate how, because to me it's quite a literary piece, and also a lot of theater people, because there's something about the show that's like grand guignol, you know, it's like or opera, it's like very
grandiose.
And sweeping, and the score is like
even the music throughout, it's that constant heartbeat.
It's so dramatic, and then it's cut with this like such irreverent humor that saves it from being a melodrama, but it's got this scale, like this grand scale.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So you mentioned the theater. That's obviously such a big part of your career. When you think about that, what have been some of the most important lessons from the theater that you've learned?
I guess the thing about theater that for me is that it's very, very collaborative. You don't have a camera that's just on you, and then it's your colleague's turn. You know, you're in front of an audience, and whatever story you're telling that night, that's what they're seeing. And there's no one to edit it. There's no one to, you know, if you forgot your prop, you're screwed. You know, so it's a kind of immediate, and you're there together, and you have to tell the story without any technical help, or you have a set and costumes and lighting, of course. But you in the moment, it's you and the audience, and that immediacy, and you and your fellow actor, and that is the only thing I can liken it to. I grew up playing the violin, and when you play like in a chamber group or in an orchestra, and your section has the melody, and then it's passed to the second violins, or it's passed to the cellos, or it's passed to the horns, and then the dynamic shifts, and you go down, and that dynamic shifting is something stage actors have to navigate themselves, whereas in film and television, you have editors and
whole lot of different people
who
in
can
there.
tinker with those dials.
Right.
And so I think that served me well.
Can you still play the violin?
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, maybe
Gotta
it'll
pick
come
it up
back.
again.
I know. I kind of want to find it.
It's like a foreign language. You gotta just get it in the mix.
Yeah, maybe so. I did try. I found my old violin. I had an uncle who was a string instrument maker.
Oh wow.
And so I kept the instrument that I had. And I showed my daughter who plays guitar, and I was showing her, and my tone was still there, but I couldn't remember any pieces I learned for Allstate
the details,
or
the
auditions.
specifics.
Couldn't
all
remember
that
it
stuff.
all. But I think I probably still can read music, so I should
Yeah,
teach it.
you should, absolutely. And we should all be checking out your show too, because it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Jay, thanks so much. Good to
Thank
meet you.
you.
Check out Jay Succession on HBO. That's Jay. I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.